Yeah, the weather for the next leg's looking really, really tricky actually, really difficult, and there's nothing particularly strong happening in the med in the next few days, and it's really going to be a case of just trying to sort of join the dots or put together the bits of wind that there are in the med and sort of form a reasonably robust strategy where we can link up what little wind there is for start day tomorrow. I guess there's some reasonable easterly sort of south of here in Alicante and south of the Balearics, but at some point we've got to go north. If we went north straight out of here, it's really tricky, really light north of in the Bay of Valencia. It's looking really, really, really very difficult. So the direct course looks difficult, but if we can get ourselves east in that gradient, the question is, can we then get ourselves back north again? So it is looking really difficult, and I think the pattern towards the middle of next week would generally be easterlies, but there's a lot of nothing along the run line that we've got to deal with, and there might be a weak low pressure and then suddenly a weak high pressure, but no real sort of solid gradient that we can work with. So I guess the big choice is, do we use the gradient that we know that's going to be there tomorrow? Do we try and make as much progress with that as possible, and then see what develops, or do we sort of commit early on to dealing with sea breezes and land breezes? But that's obviously going to be a messy and a fairly long-winded affair battling up the coast. So I think it's going to be an interesting leg, and looking at how the different teams decide to deal with that's going to be going to be fascinating. Yeah, unfortunately for this next leg, we won't have our Port Dagobah back. We'd obviously like it, and it's a little bit of disadvantage, but with the forecast we got and the winds being light, we feel pretty confident we can obviously fight for the win. So we're certainly going to be going out there and giving it all we've got. We went reasonably well in the last leg without it, and we've actually learnt a bit about the boat and how we sail without it, how to optimise things, and actually our sort of team on the shore, our technical team, we've been working hard on sort of updating our crossovers and stuff for that no daggerboard setup. So hopefully we won't be too much of a disadvantage. Yeah, no, it's really interesting going to this last leg. There's obviously 3 boats, all on equal points, tied at the top, and and we got a really light, tricky leg, which it's definitely got opportunities, but there's obviously pitfalls as well. So the strategy of whether it'd be interesting to see how everyone sort of plays their hand. Are people going to just go for the win, split with the fleet, hope their plan works out, or are we going to see the boats trying to sort of stick together a little bit, knowing that there's going to be slowdowns and park ups and teams wanting to sort of stay in the fight into the end. So with such a sort of tricky forecast going into the start tomorrow, it'd be interesting to see what everybody does and sort of what sort of option they're going to favour. But for sure there's going to be plenty of opportunities, and the final one could be right outside of Genova. I don't think I've ever finished a Duralia race without stopping right outside the finish line and having to wait for either a land breeze or a sea breeze depending on the time of day. So I'm sure this one's going to come down to the wire. I think we've been sailing really well as a team together. There's obviously we've been working as this group since the beginning of the year, but this was our first sort of competitive outing, and I think we gelled really nicely. We've got a really nice mix of people and experience on board, and I think we've been sailing the boat very well. Our manoeuvres have been good. I think we've been very happy with our boat speed, and and I think strategically and tactically we've done a reasonable job. So I think we've done a good all-round job. So we just got to keep building on that and working on that, and we know, because we're quite a sort of new team together, that there is still scope for improvement. So I think we've got a lot of potential for improving yet. So let's hope that we can just keep building on the good work we've done this race and finish strongly. Linked Out have done a really nice job. They've sailed very, very well. They obviously know their boat very well. It's probably fair to say they've probably more comfortable or more knowledgeable their boat in that configuration. With obviously coming into this race, we've got new foils, new sails, and for us, it's really been a learning experience, learning how to sail our boat better, and working things out. It's also the first time we've really lined up against other IMOCA 60s with this boat in a long time. So I think probably some of the teams that have come from the Vendée probably are much more familiar with their boats than maybe we are in a sort of competitive environment. So it's been a great learning experience for us, but I think one thing that's really, really positive for us is we've been very happy with what we've seen. How we've sailed the boat is gone really well, and our performance has been really good. So we're very positive, very optimistic, and looking forward to going to this last leg. Yeah, not only the wind's going to be really tricky in this leg, but there's a few extra hurdles that we're going to have to deal with. There looks like there's going to be a military GPS interference test happening right on our racecourse Tuesday and Wednesday for a number of hours. So it's perhaps not the time to be throwing away the paper charts yet and relying solely on electronic means. I think we'll have to see what that entails and how long we are in that area for. But certainly, yeah, it'd be important to sort of know where you are, know what you're doing, and rely on those like traditional navigation skills through that period, because otherwise it could spin you for a bit of a loop, I guess. No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're so reliant on GPS these days on board. It's 20 years ago the challenge, or maybe 30 years ago, longer now perhaps, but the challenge used to be finding out where you are, and that was the difficult bit about navigation. Now we can get a GPS that updates 10 times a second, so we know where we are, and it's much more about where we're going. But yeah, we rely on GPS really heavily for knowing where we are, understanding where the other boats are, safety with respect to shipping and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously some of that GPS data, COG and SOG, goes into our autopilot system. So we're just gonna have to be on our toes, and if things start to go a bit crazy, identify what's going on, and rely on more traditional means of getting the boat through it. Such as? Yeah, maybe a paper chart, relying on your compass. Even our compass is GPS aided, so it's interesting, Yeah, I guess there's potential for that. We can obviously use the pilot in different modes, but don't we rely so much on technology? There's probably a few little curveballs there for us to figure out.